Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we go to a planet of 9 billion people by 2050, and maybe as many as 12 to 13 billion by the end of the century, how we're going to be able to increase the quality of life and the standard of living instead of people just existing. And we have a gentleman who's actually been working at this for some time, a very high energy and dynamic organization called Stik, and he's going to explain what the Stik actually stands for. This is Kurt Sanders. He's an applications engineer, and sitting right beside me in the studio is Dr. Bahramian, who is the inventor and CEO of what's called the Center for Technology Management. Bahram, thank you for being with us. And Kurt, welcome, and he's coming in by Skype, so welcome all the way from Florida.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us on.
Glad to have you with us. Say, tell us a little bit about this very dynamic organization that you have called Stik, and why that name?
Stik was born through the brain of our CEO and founder, Brian Bosley, and it revolved around his love for being able to sail on a sailboat. And he wanted to be able to do this independent of grid power or shore power. So he came up with a solar stick, hence the singularity of the name Stik. That was around 1998. A few years later, he saw that it was marketable. Then they started pursuing it a little heavier at that point. A few years removed from there, it fell on the ears of the United States Army, and they saw the autonomy aspect of it and being able to use this for expeditionary power. And so through that, we got involved in a CRADA, which is a cooperative research and development agreement with Program Office E2S2 out of Fort Belvoir. So starting out on the water, very remote conditions, very inhospitable, austere conditions. The parallels were very similar to migrating that towards the military application. So, and Stik, actually, the name Stik evolved into superior technology integration knowledge. So we're purveyors of technology. We don't make all of this proprietary. We provide commercial, off-the-shelf, integrated solutions that revolve around requirements that are handed down to us. We basically reverse engineer solutions that meet the power demands for the specific mission.
Now looking at this first slide here, and I think you can see this, Kurt.
Yes, sir.
This is a very sophisticated array. This could be used by the military, but also, as you know, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, so we're reaching out to thousands of communities all across the globe in many places that have no energy whatsoever, and others, the backup generator really is the grid as far as many of these local communities. So what we're looking at here, Kurt, this very well could be set up for a small town, village, or a community virtually anywhere on the planet. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Actually, what we've taken is a very inefficient system in that a generator, when it's running, is producing an amount of power regardless of the load that it's supporting. So what we do is we integrate a battery bank into the middle of this, and so we make every system more efficient just by virtue of adding in energy storage in between the load and the actual generator set. So yes, any system could use this technology, and we can scale up and down according to the size of the load.
Now looking at this goes to the sophistication and specific needs that would be stated by either a military installation or a village, town, it could be even a satellite community. But what you're doing, it looks like you're integrating this right into the local community, so these can actually be stationed anywhere. And it's very interesting when I went back and looked at your website again is how mobile and portable all this really is. address that, going back to the history of actually starting the company?
Well, the mobility is, we have 5 hallmarks that govern everything that we produce here in SolarStik. That's portability, adaptability, scalability, and then durability. And those 4 lead to the ultimate hallmark, which is autonomy. So more or less everything that we work on serves that market in some form or another. There you're looking at emergency management services. And we custom design a solution that's predicated around the load that they would have us serve. So in any application, energy is required no matter what the mission is. And we fill that void where they need to be able to not only provide continuity of operations, but also hybridize these systems and make them work more with renewables instead of just burning fossil fuels all the time. The traditional mindset of the military over the years, frankly, since generators have been on the battlefield, is to dump fuel in them and keep dumping fuel until they run out of fuel. We've just made these much more efficient systems.
Yeah, and if you've been on our website, we have what we call the power for peace, because development, as say the continent of Africa goes from about 850 million people to over 1 billion, maybe as soon as 2020, but at least definitely by 2025, is that, there's a great shortage of energy everywhere. And so it's something that's really needed. So when you're traveling through those towns over there, I mean, you just hear these individual power generators, mostly diesel, just going day and night. And so something like this is really most appropriate for them. We're doing very well as far as keeping our contact with you, Kurt. So I'm going to let Bahramian go ahead and ask the third question.
Yeah. What are the most common applications for the SolarStik?
All of our applications are energy driven, whether it be small man-portable components, like this is a flexi panel. It's a 90-watt solar panel that you can deploy directly onto the ground. As soon as you hit wherever you need to go, immediately generate power, be able to leave immediately, use it as a pillow if you would like to. The other end of the spectrum is the slide you just had up on the screen, and that's one of our mobile tactical ISR towers, which is intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance towers. That's the larger end of the spectrum as far as our sweet spot is, if you will. And then right behind you right now, that's moving more into the commercial side of things. That's basically a Coke machine that you'll never have to plug in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really cute. I like this, and that's why I put that in side by side there so you can see it. But looking at the SolarStik technologies, they're portable, movable, easy to locate. Even in your larger systems, at least you can pull those, and so that's something that's very important. So looking at the mobility of all this, is this something that really is the hallmark of what you're doing, and actually that will continue as you expand around the globe?
It is. Mobility, mostly driven through the military, will certainly trickle down those benefits to the commercial markets. We're starting to look at other avenues of interest as well. Research vessels, we're looking into the Antarctic as well. We're currently working with our battery manufacturer on making a cold weather battery, because as we all know, batteries don't really like cold weather. So everything that starts from a military standpoint, from the military requirement standpoint, will eventually matriculate into other avenues, and we'll be able to source out other commercial avenues as well. We are on the precipice of a convergence of a lot of great things as far as renewables, and as far as the appliances that we're serving, likewise becoming more efficient. So that crux is going to yield a very big payoff very soon.
Now, looking at some of the greatest challenges, that's one of the questions we wanted to go over, but looking at this technology we have here, what would be the efficiency of this technology, Kurt? And how do you make sure that it keeps that efficiency? Because many times you're in very harsh conditions, everything gets covered with dust, or you be in other conditions where it's covered with snow. How do you keep those efficiencies up? And then what are the gain levels as far as increasing efficiency on this type of equipment as we go, into 2020 and into 2030?
We're seeing very good gains in efficiencies, and we've seen a steady increase over the past, I don't know, you can use the light bulb, for example. Your standard incandescent light bulb versus the LED technologies that they're drawing a fraction of the wattage. But as far as other efficiencies go, solar is the best solar efficient panels, or the best efficient panels are around 20%, which most anyone looks at 20% and doesn't see that as very efficient. But we've come a long way in the past few years, and I foresee us coming much, much further going forward.
Well, looking at a place like the continent of Africa, 54 nations, far-flung areas, many places, there's absolutely no grid out to these areas. So any efficiency you have is much better than absolutely doing without, particularly when you have almost half of the continent's population is under 30 years of age. And if it's going to progress, you have to have energy in order to do anything. And even if you're going to have water, you're going to have food, all the basic infrastructure that you need. So how this system like we're looking at right here, Kurt, is actually integrated into that whole system?
Well, what you're looking at there is an ISR platform, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance platform, but we simply provide the energy as a means to support that. Whatever the mission is, or whatever system we're working with, that is the Brazilian Antarctic Research Group there. We take the mission and then we reverse engineer a solution to it no matter what it is. It's simply what we say is a watt is a watt is a watt. It's just energy. We provide that means of energy, and we also provide the means to manage that energy, so all the circuitry and the systems are much more efficient.
I tell you, it's just amazing the diversity that we've just clicked through here just in about 2 minutes, Kurt, as far as you're going from Antarctica all the way to the middle of high plateau in the middle of the desert. So it's just really amazing. But I really want to end up, this is the scene I wanted to end up with. Tell us what we're looking at here as far as the integration of technologies. We only have about 30 seconds. And how people can think about their future off the grid.
This picture is simply referred to as not that you would, but you could. And it just shows the interplay between the options and the opportunities that we have going forward, frankly, with the Coke machines and other opportunities that we haven't even explored to this point. There's the sky is the limit, literally, right now.
Oh, Kurt, it's just fantastic. This is Kurt Sanders, applications engineer at Solar Stik. Sitting right beside me is Dr. Bahramian. He's inventor and CEO of the Center for Technology Management. Thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged. Where teachers have more time to teach. And students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming. Right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has a drug problem now. Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis looking for those 1,000 best practices, technology, services, products, but most of all the people that are providing the leadership, the creativity, the innovation that's being needed across the globe. We now have a little over 7 billion people, and we'll have about another 2 billion joining us by 2050. So how are we going to be able to accommodate all those people with the basic infrastructure, the education, the health, the food, water, all these things that are needed, but at a level that actually increases their quality of life and at the same time provides them with a way to be able to share with their families, but also to protect the environment. As you know, Emerald Planet, the philosophy is the intersect between the environment and the economy. And I have a gentleman who's sitting right beside me, has been at this for a few years, Dr. Bahramian, who is an inventor and CEO for the Center of Technology Management outside of Washington, D.C. And thank you for being with us on the Emerald Planet.
Pleasure.
And there's a number of technologies that you actually have patents on. You have a number of inventions. So tell us a little bit about your center, what that really means, and then tell us about why Inventor is really part of your title.
Center for Technology Management is engaged in R&D, basically research and development in green technologies. The name of the game is efficiency, so you have to bring efficiency to the market. And one of the products which you have developed last 4 years, 5 years, is use of the LEDs, solar panels, solar systems, to produce lighting and producing efficiency in the game. Another product would be disaster shelters for refugee camps, for disaster areas at the time of need. Instead of using tents, we can use these units which are portable, air transportable, as well as more civilized than the tents, let's put it this way.
And we're going to talk about those too, because I think those are palletized.
Yes.
So you put them out, you can assemble those. In many cases, they're better than what people have moved out of, whether it's on the African continent or the Middle East or even Southeast Asia. So we'll talk about those kinds of things. The inventor part of that. Why are you in? Many people are going out finding technologies and then purveying that elsewhere, but you're actually looking how you can actually perfect and change.
Our belief is that the successful companies are those who have got their own internal research and development to come up with innovative products, provided they produce them in the United States, not outsource them. I personally am against outsourcing, as you know, because outsourcing for companies on short term is successful, it's good. But for country, it's disaster. Therefore, if you have the innovative products, which needs patents and so forth, obviously, then you can produce them here, create jobs, and more prosperity in the country.
And that's the way it really should be. And the whole thing is that provide increasing levels, both in the knowledge industry, but also from the actual manufacturing side of that. So looking at this moving from the research and development into the manufacturing, we have this here as far as lighting efficiency. Give us a little background about how this works. You're inventing, you're improving, and then how does that translate into the manufacturing aspects?
Well, as you know, the first generation of the lighting system was the incandescent lights. Those are out. In Europe, you cannot use them. And in the United States, since 2014, has been banned. In other words, there's no manufacturing of that kind of product. The second generation was the fluorescents. And the fluorescents have got, mercury vapor in it, and efficiency is about 35%. Incandescent efficiency is only 10%. LEDs, whether we like it or not, efficiency is 90%. And that's
90%?
90%.
That's incredible.
90.
Right.
And the reason for that is, as you know, incandescent lights and fluorescent lights generate heat, and that heat is lost. Therefore, LEDs working with 4 volt or 12 volt voltage, they don't warm up. Therefore, it's much more efficient.
Now, looking at this lighting efficiency, going back to this, and I'm going to move back, what is it that we're actually seeing? Here's the light bulb that we're talking about, and let's go back and look at these charts. How does this translate into something that looks just like this?
Right. The previous chart, as you saw, the red one indicates the amount of dollar which you use to burn a bulb, normal bulb. The blue one is the same luminous, same efficiency and so forth. We're using mercury vapor fluorescence. But look at the last one, the green one, is usage of the LED. So you see how efficient it is. Now, the next bulb, on the next slide, this is quite unique, and we have got a patent on this. As soon as the electricity goes off on this bulb, it automatically switches to solar. Also, it has got a USB port. So with the computer, you can turn it on and off. Therefore, at locations which you don't have electricity, like the camps, like the location which you have no electricity and so forth, remote distance, you can turn it on and off.
So this is what you'd be calling, I assume, a smart bulb. Right. I tell you, that's incredible. Now, looking at this is, tell us about the mailbox, and then let's back across into the night and the day of this particular location.
This is one application of the LEDs, which I have developed. The panel which you see is only 1/4 inch thick and illuminates at night. So one example of that is daylight, which you can see the house number, as well as at night automatically turns on. And the solar panel gives the energy to the thing to use it at night. So this is one application.
Looking at, let's just keep this up for a minute, if you don't mind, Bahram. The whole thing of using solar, and of course, more and more they're incorporating wind, because at night you have wind, so in essence, it's almost a 24-hour production in many cases. So how does this really impact the homeowner as far as the energy savings that they're going to have, which translates into how to lower the operating costs for their house?
Well, at homes, generally you don't use a wind turbine because it's too noisy and you don't have always wind on the house. And solar is the practical application. However, you need a battery or something to store the energy. And that energy is stored in a battery, and then you can use it at night. Or you can connect it to the grid. Therefore, during daytime, you save the energy, pass it to grid. At night, you get the information or the electricity from the grid. And
you can pass that back and forth. Now, we're going into something that's really needed all over the globe right now, with so many people displaced in the Middle East and African continent, even in Latin America and places, either of conflict areas or man-made natural disasters, and those are increasing because of climate change. So tell us a little bit about this invention as far as the new style of housing that can be used and going beyond tents.
This typical panel, which is standard 4x8 size, was initially designed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base a few years ago during Vietnam era. We developed that further. Now is a civilian application using fiberglass and composite materials, and give you the panel, which is only between 30 to 40 pounds each panel, about 4x8. You can put it together and form a small hut, or you can use it for housing, as well as schooling, clinics, and so forth. And the units can be put on a pallet, on an aircraft, fly to the location, and then within 3 or 4 hours, put the building together.
So in other words, this would actually go into, say, a C-130 or some large transport, or into containers on a ship, and be what they call pre-positioned
Exactly.
in locations. What is the energy efficiency of something like this? Because many of these will go into areas, in the tropical areas where it's very hot, it's very humid. Other times it may be going areas where it's extremely cold.
Yeah,
so
right.
what is the thermal properties
Good job
of
you
something
asked this
like
question. This is about 2.5 inch or practically 12 centimeter thick, and it's all foam. It's polyurethane foam. It's the same foam which you use in refrigerators. So that's the efficiency. You can keep it cool or warm as you want.
So this, if you can just kind of conceptualize, this is like a giant igloo that people
Exactly.
carry around
Yeah,
for their drinks
yeah,
when they
yeah,
go to the
exactly.
beach and picnics and things like that. And so this is really the same concept that you have in doing something like that. Looking at this is a very attractive home using these panels that you're talking about. But two questions. One is, what are some of the challenges as far as being able to file the patents, be able to receive the patents, and then how does that translate? The next step to that is finding funding in order to advance one's company.
Getting a patent, naturally you need appropriate lawyers which are specialized in this field, and it takes few years, quite a few years. But anyway, 6 months later somebody can copy it. The only way we can stay ahead of the technology, as I said earlier, is that you have to have your own R&D department and keep enhancing the product all the time. So by the time they copy the first one, you have got the second one ready. Bringing it to the market is very difficult. The concept is fine, testing is fine, it's done, but bringing it to the market, you need the end user who can buy the product. And either the governments, if they have got a vision to put this into practice, like Haiti or like many other locations which had disasters, if they have them ready, like FEMA, they can employ them. And so bringing it to market is quite difficult. You need investors.
One last question, going to the funding part. Is it very difficult to find funding to do this kind of work, where it's innovative technologies and people may or may not totally understand the concepts?
Unfortunately, funding organizations always are looking for something which is on-go and expanding and all that. They want to jump on the wagon rather than start from the beginning. So that's why it's quite difficult to sell the concept. So you have to have some projects, get it moving, and then as soon as they see that it's moving and they see the application, and they would love to invest further for expansion probably.
Well, we've run out of time, and when we chat, that always happens. This is Dr. Bahramian, who is an inventor, CEO of the Center for Technology Management, sharing about some of the latest technologies that he's been developing over the years, R&D into manufacturing to the public, as we create the Emerald Planet.
Thank you.
Good job. Nice.
This is firstgov.gov, where we're obsessed with getting you government information.
Brand new student loan applications on the site, baby. This calls for a celebration. Where's your uncle?
So in the end, it was either take the astronaut gig or come work here. What can I say? Duty called.
Dude, that's my cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's Sam's cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. Sam's? No.
Just log on or email us and get what you need.
C, change of address form. That's how it's done.
D, driver's license renewal.
E, emailing Social Security information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice, we'll allow it. All right, Ed.
What are those?
Government surplus cars for auction.
You posted those online last time.
No, you did.
I'm posting them online this time.
For all your government information, firstgov.gov.
Oh, what have we got here? Sometimes you feel tired. You can't seem to lose those extra pounds off your midsection. And your joints hurt when you take the stairs? Well, you're getting older. But I'm happy to say that there's some simple things we can do to keep you happy and healthy for years to come. We can also lower your risk for some serious diseases the older population is often subject to. Proper nutrition is more important than ever. Your body has changed, you know. Not as many treats. A basic exercise plan, lots of walks and fresh air, and most importantly, come and see me for twice-yearly checkups to help ensure the best possible quality of life. Now, how does that sound? Good boy.
Improve the quality of life for your elderly pet. Schedule twice yearly checkups that include preventive care and regular lab work. A message from the veterinary members of the American Animal Hospital Association.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're looking at in 144 different countries, looking for those very best practices. And we're looking out around the globe because there's many needs, but also if you look at even Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa, more and more innovation, more and more sustainable development is going on in these locales. And so even though there's a flow and exchange of ideas and technologies and services between North America, NAFTA with Mexico, the United States, and Canada, at the same time, more and more innovation is going on in these countries. So what we're looking for is how do you open up to be amenable to allowing these technologies to have a two-way flow in order to increase the quality of life as we do go to a planet that will have about 9 billion people. Not everyone is going to be able to be in agriculture or in some kind of manufacturing, and so we need to be much more innovative than what we're doing. We have a gentleman that really does work around the globe, involved in many different products and technologies. He's coming in by telephone. This is Louis. He goes by the name of Lou J. Haveman, CEO of Business Connect, and he's also a business partnership developer for Partners Worldwide. He's coming here by telephone again. And sitting right beside me, our special guest is Dr. Bahramian, who is inventor and CEO of the Center for Technology Management. And Lou, are you with us?
I am. Thank you.
Glad to have you here, and I'm going to put up some of these images that you shared with us as we talk through here. And I have my good friend Bahram sitting right beside me. We'll ask you a couple of questions as well. But tell us a little bit about your organizations, both the Business Connect and the Partners Worldwide.
Partners Worldwide is the mother organization, if I can put it that way. They are an organization that connects business women and men successful in their business in North America with emerging entrepreneurs around the world, dealing primarily with what we would say are the forgotten middle, not the microfinance small businesses, nor the larger ones, but small family business enterprises with 2 to 5 to 10 employees who really aren't connected with a banking system but have the highest potential for creating jobs and employment. And I worked with them for about 5 years, and one day received a phone call from one of my team leaders, and he said, I'm in a small group with a young man who has a product that he thinks will save the world and save lives. And truth be told, I kind of rolled my eyes and thought, yeah, okay, let's see what you have.
You've heard all that before.
Exactly, yes. So that started a relationship with Sawyer Products, a point-of-use water filter based on hollow fiber membrane technology. And for the next 3 years, I represented them internationally. They said, you know, we have a product for people that love the outdoors. Suddenly we think this has impact around the world. And we're not interested in traveling. We're not interested in cross-cultural things. We don't have any contacts. Would you be willing to help us bring this product to the people who need it most? And that led to my wife and I creating a small business called Business Connect.
Yeah. Looking at this next photograph here, I really like this. The lady standing here with one of the products that you've actually taken into these, what we call emerging market economies. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of this and what kind of change does this very small technology we're looking at here bring to the lives of people out in areas where in essence there's no grid, there's no basic infrastructure as far as energy, in many cases not even water.
Well, that is the purpose and motivation for the existence of our business. I had been involved in non-governmental organizations for 22 years and have worked in disaster response as well as charitable but effective but limited kind of impact ministries. And more have come to the conclusion that what we really need are sustainable business solutions to address the issues of poverty, and to do that in a way that not only creates employment, but meets the needs of the poorest of the poor in a way that is sustainable and can grow. And from that, we've identified a few products, as you are seeing on the screen.
Yeah, looking at this, this is a very simple water filtration system, and it's just amazing. I've lived, worked, and traveled in 88 countries myself, and so I know what it's like to be out in the proverbial bush, if you will, out away from the basic infrastructure of a city, and you're really dependent on all the elements there, and when you have something this small that you can actually take with you, it really changes your perspective on life, but also what the majority of the people on the planet really go through on a day-to-day basis. Tell us how this system works and why this is so important in these small areas, whether it's out in the rural part, but also you have millions living on the edges of these what they call now mega cities, 10 to 30 million people, and they don't have any more infrastructure than if you're living 300 miles away.
Well, that's right. And what attracted me initially to this, we call it the 0.1 filter. It's a gravity flow system, no larger than the size of the fist of your hand. It requires no electricity, no chemicals, no replacement parts.
Hold on a minute, Lou. I want to bring this back up so people, there we go. Okay, go ahead.
And so the whole package weighs a total of 8 ounces. So in many cases, we actually suitcase it into various countries and places. And what is really neat is that you can use water from any source, an open well, a river, a lake, rainwater catchment systems. And this filter is a 0.1 micron, which means that any pathogens that are bad for our bodies, whether it's cholera, typhoid, E. coli, protozoa, and so on, are basically caught by the filter. Now, that means you have to back flush the filter, and a syringe comes with the filter. And the key thing, and it's very key, it's very important, is that filter gets back flushed every time it's used, and no less than once a day. Once it's back flushed, you can store it for a day, for a month, for months at a time, but do not store it when it's still full or contaminated. And if you do that, you have a filter that will give you, I can filter roughly 20 liters of water in about 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. So you can provide all the water for your family, even to wash in it, and it requires essentially no maintenance. The only thing that does not come with it is a bucket, and as you know, or anyone knows who's traveled, plastic buckets are everywhere to be found in any local market or village.
Absolutely. Bahram, why don't you go ahead and ask the next question?
Lou, what are the other products which you have in the
Okay,
market?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. One of the, we have two basic goals, and one is to create employment, and the other is the provision of these life-enhancing products. And we soon discovered that it's pretty hard to create a sustainable business if you have one product which does not require the customer to come back to you. And so we start thinking about solar products, particularly lights and solar that has a USB port, as you've talked previously about charging phones. And then we've got into high-efficiency wood and charcoal stoves. and we have a what is called a peppermint generator, a 1,000 watt and a 2,000 watt unit that can be put into a local school or a clinic, and which you can run a small electric refrigerator or up to 10 laptop computers or lights in a school at night in rural areas. And so we're trying to develop a menu of products that are really life-enhancing and create a more attractive business that really can bring people a number of products that they need.
Now, looking at this schematic here, you got Business Connect, and then you've got all the supporting personnel around this. When you're looking at a country, what kind of people you're actually looking for? Because you're really focused, Lou, on creating new businesses. It's not just jobs, it's creating real businesses, which in turn they can start employing people within their own local communities. Again, whether it's in a very isolated rural area or right downtown of a major mega city. But what kind of people you're looking for, and it probably doesn't just focus on educational background as you would think about in North America, but maybe other skills and talents.
Yes, and that's been an ongoing development for us, finding the right people, and we really have an assortment of people. Let me just give you a couple examples. Our Central America, South America country distributor is a former career military person in the U.S. He's a U.S. citizen, plus a Colombian citizen, highly qualified, highly motivated. To a local person, a pastor in a rural village that has great passion and high energy and wants to do something for his people. So it's across the board. But I would say two criteria are really essential for our reps around the world. The first is to have some business experience, and particularly marketing. There's lots of people with great intentions, even resources, but if you don't have the skill and ability to run a business, to market the product, and to have the persistence to make it happen, it's really difficult to be successful. And the second major criteria we look for are people that have a passion to meet the needs of the people at the bottom of the pyramid, if you will. We are focusing on the people that are most needy, which of course means that...
Lou, we're going to lose you just in a few seconds, so thank you for being with us on the Emerald Planet TV. This is Lou J. Haveman, CEO of Business Connect and business partnership developer of Partners Worldwide. Thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Too many women get hit by their boyfriends and husbands. Too many women are pressured into having unprotected sex. Half of the people in the world living with AIDS are women. It doesn't have to be this way. Together, we can change this reality. Let's strive for a world free of violence.
At Volunteers of America, we don't just give kids a way to stay off the streets. We give them the tools they need to reach their full potential. We don't just help the elderly receive needed care. We help them live life to the fullest. We don't just provide food for homeless individuals and families. We provide job training and placement so they can buy groceries. Volunteers of America is a national organization that for over 100 years has provided programs and services that allow people to overcome their challenges to become vital members of their community. At Volunteers of America, we don't just help people, we help people help themselves. Find out how you can support the programs that are working in your community. Contact Volunteers of America today. Call 1-800-899-0089.
Drivers face all kinds of distractions.
Guys, stop playing, no?
Before your wireless phone becomes one of them, stop. Drive safely. Keep your phone in easy reach and dial sensibly. In bad weather or traffic, call later and use a hands-free device. Remember, with wireless, safety is your call.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis as we're looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those areas that have the most advanced technologies, but also things that may be out of classical culture. Some things may be hundreds or thousands of years old, but actually prove to be very useful in localities. And at the same time, we're looking for people that are opinion leaders, that how can you introduce new technologies to improve the efficiency and the comfort of people, but at the same time to allow for, like the African continent, that's going from about 850 million to over 1 billion people within a short period of time. So how do we accommodate a planet that's constantly adding new people? At the same time, there's more and more demand on natural resources, and also with the extreme climate change that's going on. I have a gentleman who actually is faced with all these things. He's with a project called ShelterBox USA, started through Rotary International, has expanded into its own nonprofit organization. This is Wayne Chiles. He is the district chair for ShelterBox USA in Rotary District 7610. Right. We'll let you explain a little bit about that, Wayne. Also, he's in the Springfield, Virginia Rotary Club, very fine organization there, and also 2014 President's Volunteer Service Award winner. So you've been a busy guy.
Thank you.
Anyway, Wayne, welcome to Emerald Planet. Let's start off a little bit. One is about ShelterBox. What is it? The vision, the mission of that. But then I want to follow in a little bit about Rotary International and the background of that, how the clubs work, etc. And then we'll get back into ShelterBox itself.
Okay. Well, the mission of ShelterBox is to deliver materials and equipment to families around the world who've lost their home because of natural disaster or conflict. It is a gift from our donors to the recipients, delivered by our volunteers to make sure that we get to the most vulnerable families in the best way we can, as quickly as possible, get them out of the refugee environment into their own shelter, give them shelter, warmth, and dignity.
Yeah, and this is one of those natural disasters, Wayne, that you're talking about, and this, it's just really horrendous. And of course, more and more as we say, it's a natural disaster, some people call it an act of God. A lot of this really boils down to humankind not being very kind to the planet itself. And so we're suffering from a lot of, our own creations in all this. But what's Rotary International and how does it fit into this whole thing? You're in the Springfield, Virginia Rotary Club. There's 34,000 clubs all over the planet. How does all this fit together? And then how in turn did that lead to the creation of ShelterBox?
Well, the creation of ShelterBox was the inspiration of a Rotarian. He was a retired Royal Navy search and rescue diver. He was observing the TV pictures of how disaster response was done, and he came away with a sense that it wasn't a very humanitarian process. A truck driving into a refugee camp, people throwing bags of rice and beans out to the survivors. So he started to evaluate what was being done and came to the conclusion that individual family shelter was sort of a missing link in that spectrum. Mm-hmm. And so the creation of the name ShelterBox and then what do you need besides just a shelter?
Well, you actually have one of those shelter boxes here at the studio, but we wanted people to really be able to see it. Just go through this. One is you have the big box, so it keeps everything well organized. What else is in there, and why were these items actually selected that way?
Well, a cook stove, that's pretty obvious. We want to give the families the ability to prepare meals, cooking dishes, utensils, warmth, blankets, ground sheets, so that they can sleep comfortably. Water purification, a critical element, of course, in the spectrum of survival. Basic tools, materials for the family to be able to continue to recover or begin the rebuilding process. Activity packs for the young children. If you're going to put a family in a tent for an extended period of time, there better be something in there to keep the youngsters occupied. Warmth, mosquito netting, depending on the climate, depending on where we're going.
So all these things that we're looking at right here, Wayne, really this is really the very essence of what people need who've, in a sense, lost absolutely everything, whether it's by conflict or by a disaster of some kind. And so this allows them, it's almost like a giant starter kit to get them back into feeling like they're human beings. Now, we have this tent here. This is the one that's being provided through ShelterBox. And then we have one, it's called UN Spec. So I'm just going to kind of go between the two of these. Tell us a little bit about why this style and size of tent, which is actually quite unique as far as tents are concerned. And then how does this differ from, you know, how this would really accommodate a family of, say, 6 to 7, which is kind of the average size family in many of these conflict zones?
Well, we say the standard ShelterBox tent, which you've got on the screen now, will serve a family of 6 or more people for anywhere from 6 months to an extended period of time, depending on their need, how quickly they can recover. It has identification on it. It has a ShelterBox logo, it has the Rotary logo. The difference is the UN Spec tent, which has been used extensively by the UN and other relief organizations, doesn't have those logos on it. And for certain parts of the world, particularly in the situation we find ourselves today, that's a very critical element, because it does not call attention to whatever organization provided it. It doesn't indicate that this is something different for these families.
Looking at this tent, I mean, if you look between these two, not being disrespectful or anything, but this looks like it's something that was really designed with a family in mind.
Correct.
That's going to be an extended period of time. And we tend to think, Wayne, of natural disasters or IDPs, internally displaced persons, regardless of the country, is that, oh, they'll soon be going back home. But in many cases, people are 5 years, 6 years, 7 years still in place and disconnected from their home area. So there's just seems elements to this tent that really make sense to people that really want to keep a family together, like the little porch. Just explain a little more about this, because I think there's something this has an essence to it that's different than you're just trying to accommodate people for a short period of time.
Well, this particular tent is a collaborative effort between our manufacturer, Van Gogh, and our field representatives. It's the third style that I've seen since I've been associated with the project. Very well designed, lots of ventilation at the top and at the bottom to allow good airflow. 2 layers of material. The inner layer zips up so it's mosquito tight. You can also add a thermal blanket. So this structure has a great deal of flexibility as to where it is deployed and the kinds of conditions designed for long service.
Yeah, and this shows these actually being applied in a situation, and I think this is an incredible photograph I've been in 88 countries, and this looks like a lot of places where I've been and traveled over the years, and this is something that just really shows how people use these, and on a day-to-day basis they wanted to do it. But this I found very impressive. Tell us about what we're looking at.
Well, we're looking at the back end of I guess a C-130 or a C-5. I'm not familiar with aircraft, but following the Indian Ocean tsunami, of course, at the end of 2004. This was 4 years into the inception of ShelterBox. It was the first major disaster that ShelterBox responded to. 22,000 boxes delivered in 4 countries around the Indian Ocean by the ShelterBox teams. As I say, the first major, and sort of brought ShelterBox into recognition as a major force in disaster response.
Yeah. And then, of course, this is just shows you, and one of the questions I had for you, Wayne, is, are you doing this with inside the United States and Canada, Mexico, as well as overseas? And I think this states this. So why did Rotary International, the focus has really been over the years international, but also now it looks like it's more and more doing things actually within its own country. So this could happen in Australia, could happen, India, all these places where Rotary is large and vibrant and active and all that. Tell us a little bit about this thinking, the philosophy of you got to serve your own people as well as reach out to the world.
Well, the philosophy is to serve people wherever the need is. And yes, we've responded in a number of countries. Most of the places we respond, Rotary already exists. And in fact, that partnership is a key element for our project, because local Rotarians, not only do Rotarians support the project financially, but when we deploy in a country where Rotary exists, the local Rotarians become a key asset to our response teams to help them in so many ways to make that mission easier.
Yeah. Well, I think this really says it all right here as far as shelter, warmth, and dignity. And we're about running out of time, Wayne. But thank you for being here, and thank you for representing Rotary as well as the Springfield Rotary Club. But this whole thing of dignity, how does Rotary enhance dignity when people are suffering so much? And we have about 15, 20 seconds to do all that.
I mean, just knowing that the Rotary symbol is a part of what's delivered, that the people who respond, some may be Rotarians, many may not be, but they're still reaching out, and the family knows that someone around the world cared enough to respond.
It's fantastic. Wayne Chiles is the district chair, Rotary District 7610, ShelterBox USA, as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.